wants the best for the city of Lake Worth, whether that's for us individually or for the city as a whole, and I think probably more for the city as a whole. And I think the last comment that we just had, that in terms of experience and qualifications and knowledge, we are very fortunate to have a city manager that brings an enormous amount of experience and knowledge. And I think the question is well posed, that if we can give direction as commissioners in the directions that we 5 people think are sensible, I am very confident from my experience working with the city manager over the last year that she completely understands the concept that the commission runs the show. She brings expertise to it and will help us, not keep from falling in some of the pitfalls that can happen, because she brings 30 years. When I came onto the board, I didn't bring 30 years of experience running the city government. So I'm going to listen to some of what she has to say. I won't necessarily agree with it, and I may have policy differences, and we have had disagreements on things. And I said, I'm sorry, this is my position. And she respected that. I am very confident that the 5 of us here could work with her, and that the city as a whole would be extremely well served by keeping her experience and knowledge and professionalism and simply giving her the direction that you see appropriate to give to her. I think that's perfectly possible. And I think we have had a history in this city of turning over city managers with great regularity. I know that I've experienced some city managers who they may have been very malleable, but they didn't bring much in the way of talent and expertise and knowledge to the table. And I think that we set a very bad precedent if we, again, turn somebody loose. I would say we're much better served by finding a way to work with the person and give the person direction. I think that's very possible to do.
Any other comments? Commissioner McDonough?
Honestly, I found Commissioner Maxwell's request a surprise. When I think of when I got on this dais back in 2008, we had not one credentialed person in our finance department. We had audits that were costing us more than $100,000 than they should have. We had to pay extra $100,000 like each year to the auditors because our finances were in such a wreck. We had auditors, once they came on board, who were recommending that we prosecute some of our staff because of the mishap, the way the city was being run. There were actually people that could have been prosecuted. So that's just an inkling of what was happening in city staff, in what was going on. We had no performance reviews. I don't think we had ever had anybody have a performance review in this city. We had unions running basically our city. We had no ability to manage, because the unions had that in their contracts, to manage our staff. We were paying a building inspector, I think $90 an hour full time for this guy, for his contract. It was absolute mayhem in this city when I came on board in 2008. We had 30 years of casino building that had gone back and forth, that is almost completed. It's going to be done in April. We have a water plant that we just finished, a $24.9 million water plant that has a future for the next, it's expandable to twice its current size. We've guaranteed our water sources. We've made tremendous progress in this city, and it's undeniable. So it may not be the exact direction of which everyone in this community wants to go, but the community as a whole has made progress. So I agree with Commissioner McVoy. Let's give it a try. See if this will work for the new commission, for the direction that you want to take, before just cutting loose and going backwards. We were in a re-engineering. When I ran for office in 2008, one of the things I had stated is we were looking for a commissioner who would help re-engineer our city government. We knew we were at a place where we needed to be re-engineered. Re-engineering often means letting go of staff, restructuring. I've done it in companies myself, so I know it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for the people that are working for the company. It's uncomfortable for the people who are engaged with the company. And we are still in transition. We just cut $4.7 million out of this year's budget. We cut $4.2 million out of last year's budget. It's been painful. So I'm disappointed, Commissioner Maxwell, because in my opinion, this is personal. You've had issues with the city manager as long as I've sat up on this dais, refusing to meet with her and making harassing statements towards her. It's been difficult sitting up here with some of the exchanges that you've had with her. And I find it inappropriate that you would bring this to us without any notice when you have given myself and fellow commissioners a hard time over even the 11 days issue, let alone 5 minutes.
Commissioner Maxwell?
I have nothing to say. I'd like to call the vote.
I would like to say a few things.
Mayor, since Commissioner Maxwell has moved the previous question, which is a technical term for that, all discussion stops.
Okay.
And you need to see if there is a second to move the previous question to stop discussion and have a vote on the previous issue. So there needs to be a second.
Is there a second to move the previous question to the vote? So moved.
And it needs to,
All those in favor of, say aye.
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 Nay.
All those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Motion passes 3-2.
no, Mayor, it had to pass by a two-thirds majority.
Two-thirds majority, okay. So discussion continues.
Discussion continues, yes.
That was just,
No, that the vote was only to call the previous question, stop discussion, and take a vote on Commissioner Maxwell's previous motion. What you did was you did not pass the motion to call the previous question, which was to stop debate
stop to
and vote on the original motion. So you can continue debate, and Commissioner Maxwell's motion is still on the table, on the floor.
Well, I thought we were voting on the termination of the city manager. So, I don't know.
So then
We call it again.
we'll call it again. All those in favor of,
Can we be clear what we are voting on right now?
we are voting to move the previous question, which is to terminate conversation and move directly to the vote, correct?
Okay, what you've done is there was a motion to call the previous question. There had to be a second, which was seconded. The motion basically, in its essence, is to stop debate and then vote on the question that was originally put on the floor. It has to pass by a supermajority, which is a two-thirds vote. It did not. So what you have voted on is to continue discussing the item until you have finished discussing Commissioner Maxwell's motion, and then the mayor can call for the vote on Commissioner Maxwell's original motion.
So